Police forces will be offered specialist support from a new National Democracy Protection Unit, it's called. That's to deal with the rising level of threats against MPs. Let's get more on this now. Hannah Phillips is the Respectful Politics Policy Manager at the Joe Cox Foundation. Hannah, good to see you on Sky News. What do you think of this development?
Well, thank you for having me on. We really welcome the development that there's more support and more coordination in the police to deal with the kind of rising problem of the whole spectrum of violence, abuse, harassment towards candidates and politicians on all levels of government. So we really kind of warmly welcome this specific policy and the improvement in policing and security that's been made over recent years is something that is unfortunately even more necessary now. What we would say is that policing is just one part of what's needed to address this problem. Through our Joe Cox Civility Commission recommendations, we call on institutions and individuals across the political ecosystem and across the political spectrum to really take this problem seriously. For example, political parties have a really important role to set the tone of campaigning and really implement their own codes of conduct. And all campaigners have a really important role to, again, set that tone of campaigning and be able to debate robustly, but in a respectful way.
Talk to us about what the statistics show about crimes reported against MPs.
So the kind of statistics the recent statistics show that there has been a real big increase in reported crimes of abuse towards MPs. I also would say there is a lot of evidence that shows there is an increase in the problem of incidents that might not meet that criminal threshold but have a big impact on politicians themselves, on the staff who are often the ones who are monitoring social media and email accounts, and of course on MPs and other elected representatives' families. So again, I would say that this is a growing problem in the whole kind of spectrum of different types of kind of violence, intimidation and abuse.
Yeah, and social media has its role to play here, doesn't it? Because it has changed what the public square is effectively for politicians. They are more accessible via those means. What is your assessment of the role that has had to play?
Yes, I mean, as you say, social media has a really important role to play in our democracy. And, what a lot of politicians, elected representatives, people active in politics and public life more generally, is that social media has, as you say, really changed the kind of terms of engagement. And it has, it had a really kind of important role to play in potentially opening up democracy. But it has come with a really important role to play in that really dark side and increasing the kind of level of abuse that we see, towards politicians, towards kind of people active in public life. And what has become really clear, and there's a lot of evidence on this, the recent kind of Grok scandal emphasised this, that the abuse that's based on social media and indeed offline as well really follows the kind of inequalities that we see in society. There's a real gender dynamic of this abuse.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. There's a gender dynamic and there's also an intersectionality dynamic, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think it isn't necessarily surprising that when we see abuse towards those in public life and, indeed wider than that it does follow this inequalities that we see in society along gender, along race, along other groups that are kind of already underrepresented in our politics. And what's really important to say is that level of abuse and that abuse following the kind of inequalities that we see in society, that has a really important and potentially detrimental impact on our democracy. If we see people that are already underrepresented in our democracy that would make really excellent representatives put off from entering politics, not wanting to run again, that has a real impact on who will represent us. And a statistic that always sticks with me is Girl Guiding did a survey of their members, and over a third of young women and girls did not want to enter certain careers, including politics, because of the abuse that they saw high-profile women get online. And so there's a real long-term potential impact of this problem if it's, something that isn't addressed.
Okay, Hannah Phillips, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.